Hello, we're back to Tarot Talk, and today, having covered the major arcana from the Fool all the way through to the World and discussed those cosmic themes, now we're turning to the minor arcana. And the minor arcana makes up the bulk of the tarot. There are 56 cards total in the minor arcana. And I'm going to be explaining what the four suits are that make up the minor arcana and what the numbers in the minor arcana represent and what the character cards in the minor arcana represent. So there's a lot of information, and I'll try to cover it as succinctly as possible. So the minor arcana represent the dramas of everyday life. These are the personality cards, and they are divided into four suits, which represent the elements: earth, water, fire, and air. And the elements correspond to body, mind, heart, and spirit. The suit of discs in a traditional deck called Pentacles, discs represent the earth, the body. The suit of cups, which corresponds to water, represents the emotions: love, anger, all the emotions. The suit of air is called swords, and the swords cards represent thought, mental energy. And lastly, the suit of wands, which corresponds to fire, represents energy, whether it's intuitive energy, spiritual energy, sexual energy, creative energy. And you'll learn to discern the shadings the more you read and the more you interact with the cards. So here we have these four suits: discs, cups, swords, and wands. Each of the four suits consists of 14 cards, 10 number cards, and then 4 character cards. Traditionally, they're referred to as the court cards, and they are called the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. In the Motherpeace deck, they are the daughters, the sons, the priestesses, and the shamans. So I'm going to start now by explaining very briefly what each number represents. We begin with the aces, and the aces represent gifts or new beginnings. The number 2 represents balance, and this balance could be between two people or within your own psyche. Again, your own discernment will help you to distinguish what kind of balance we're talking about. The number 3 represents synthesis, everything coming together harmoniously. And usually the threes represent a group of 3 people, or perhaps 3 aspects of the personality. Number 4 represents stability. The 5s represent struggle. And that struggle can, again, be an inner struggle. It can be a struggle with others. It can be a struggle in the world. You'll be able to discern the more you read. The number 6 cards represent exuberance, really peak experiences, intense experiences. Then we come to the 7s, and the 7s represent inner work, deep inner work. And that inner work leads to the 8s, and 8 is the number of change. As a result of the change, we come to the 9s, and the 9s represent completion. The completion of whatever you're reading about, sometimes the fulfillment, but certainly the resolution is what the 9s represent. And then we come to the 10s, and 10 is the number of transformation. So that takes us through the number cards in each of the 4 suits. Then we come to the character cards. The daughters represent, sometimes they can represent our daughters. They can represent young women. For a man, they can represent his feelings, his intuition, his internal feminine. They also, in general, the daughters represent openness and vulnerability, younger self. These are followed by the sons, and the sons represent talking self. So action, thought, again, an aspect of oneself, somebody's son, your own son, a young man, or maybe several. You'll come to know as the more you read. The priestesses represent sovereignty and the powerful feminine energy that is manifested through a deep inner connection to the divine. Priestesses can represent mothers, or they can represent women who don't have anything to do with being mothers. So the priestesses can represent any kind of feminine energy. And then we move, lastly, to the shamans. Now, a shaman, I always like to tell people, a shaman is a wounded healer. And this is true the world over, in all tribal cultures. The shaman is one who has first been wounded, either physically, emotionally, mentally, some kind of terrible, devastating experience. And as a result of this wounding, the person has become wiser and more empathetic and more compassionate. So this is a really wonderful aspect of what it is to be a shaman. Now, of course, all shamans are not wonderful, benevolent beings, but mostly they are. They represent authority, spiritual awareness, empowered, grounded energy. So that is a brief introduction to the Minor Arcana, and I wish you well as you come to know them. Thanks.